Okay, let's continue where we left off, which is in Perek Yud. And what we said was, just to refresh your memory, that we go from Seder Hayom goes according to the Seder HaSfiros, and we go from Tefillah to Torah. The Shulchan Aruch brings that you should always, after davening, you should always learn something, like we do here. You should go Mechayil El Chayil. So what's Mechayil El Chayil? What's a Chayil? What's a Chayil? So from strength to strength. So it's two different things. Tefillah is one thing, and Torah is another thing. And there's an Indian to be Makasher, these two things. And that's why right after davening, you should learn something, but even more important is after davening, you should go to Beis Medrash. That's the practical thing. And stay there till Mincha, but if you'll just sneak ahead to the next paragraph, it says, Ubein zelazeh, kosher Shechina imoy b'sudaseh. This we'll do Hashem next time. Somewhere in there you got to eat. And that's also part of your Avodas Hashem.
Chaim.
Also Chaim. It's also part of the Avodas Hashem, and sneak preview is that when you eat correctly, with the right kavana, so his lashon is kosher Shechina. You tie the Shechina down, meaning you do. It's important to do something which is very down to earth, because very down to earth, like eating, is bringing the Shechina to the lowest place, which is the highest madrega. When Malchus is the highest madrega, but Malchus is in Derek. Malchus is in the Oretz. Mashiach is already there somewhere up there. But the idea of Mashiach and the Geula is that the whole world changes, the earth changes. Malach kol ha'aretz deya. The Oretz becomes full of deya. So it's that's the Shechina. So I'm mentioning this now because nobody should worry that you could just get hungry just thinking about this. That you got up at Chatzos and you learned until Alos, and then you go to daven at Alos, and then you go to the Beis Medrash. So Bein zel lezeh kosher Shechina b'achilosei. Somewhere in there you got to eat something, So not to worry, we're going to eat. But in terms of the madregas, so you're going from tefillah to Torah. So we explained al pi the Tomer Devorah that what happens is that when you're davening, I said not the Tomer Devorah, but when you're davening, you're speaking to Hashem. And when you're learning Torah, Hashem is speaking to us. And instead of Har Sinai, it was literal, speaking to us, but the same Torah. And the same Torah is HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking to us. So, Malach Elikim Oilim V'Yordim Boy. So the Oilim is that first you daven. I'm doing my thing. And then the second thing, which is counterintuitive, first you should listen, then do. No, Nasa V'Nishma. Right? Nasa V'Nishma. So that, first I'm doing, then you're doing, because what you're doing will be very different. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing will be very different based on what I've done. Your environment is different. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is putting into your life and into your environment and into your world differently. Even the Torah could be different. Lefi the Arizal, it's even the Torah is different. Now I know the insight that you have into Torah is completely different when you do your thing, when you daven first. Now, not to say you shouldn't learn before davening, because you do. You learn from Chatzos according to this cheshbon all the way till Alos. It's not that you don't learn, but it's not to exclude that, but it's to include that. Don't think, okay, now I'm finished with all my spiritual things. Now it's time to eat. No, you have to go to the Torah. So we were masber according to the Rav Moshe Cordevaro in a different place. The Sefer Or Yakar, which is a Kabbalist Sefer of the Ramak. That what happens really is, on a more technical term, and this is what we've been talking about. In fact, this is Shechina Part 4. That what we're really doing is going from Shechina Tachtoina to Shechina Elyoina, climbing up the ladder of the Spheros. So which is very muspar according to what I'm saying, because you start here and then it goes like this. So Shechina Tachtoina is mamish the Shechina. There's two things, right? We didn't know this a few weeks ago, that Shechina is divided by two. Shechina is not up there b'chlal. I've explained this before. Shechina's not up there, otherwise it wouldn't be called Shechina. Shechina means Shoichin B'Seichel. Shoichin B'Seichel. Once it's a Shabbat, it's not Shechina. There's no Shechinos. It's like having a neighbor that lives on the other part of the world. Or lives in Shabbat. So first of all, it's down here, but down here, Gufa, so the Shechina is divided into two, and the two is Shechina Tachtoina, Shechina Elyaina. So you start off with Tefillah, which is Shechina Tachtoina, meaning you're addressing or creating even creating, not even addressing, you're creating a situation, an environment, a keli of Shechina Tachtoina, and then from there you climb up to Shechina Elyaina, and I read to you this amazing words of the Ramak. You don't have it in your Tomer Devorah, I have it in mine. That when it comes to, the Gemara says, Aveira Machaba Mitzvah. That's the Lashon of the Gemara. That an Aveira can extinguish a mitzvah, kilo cancels itself out. You do a mitzvah, you do an Aveira, you did nothing. But the real shot in Aveira Machaba Mitzvah is that, the Rishonim, Rashi even, that when you do the mitzvah of Tefillah, so if you did an Aveira, so the Aveira is ma'akiv the Tefillah. So you're supposed to do tshuva before you daven, at least a quickie tshuva.
So the Chachamim is spent an hour to get ready for davening in the morning?
So tshuva,
That's true.
amongst other things. I mean, there are probably a lot of things that they did take a whole hour. But it wasn't just meditation. That's clear. I mean, but part of it is tshuva, and you find in all the better quality sidurim, like the inyanim of doing tshuva before tefillah. But the reason is because you're dealing with Shechina Tachtoina. This is a Shechina that I'm making, and since it's a Shechina that I'm making, I have to do it correctly. Otherwise, there's no Shechina there. Something which HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes, it's pure. You can't like a mikvah can't become tabei, right? Or the earth can't become tabei. What did you say? You said a good thing, Yodi, that about the stones.
The stones.
Oh, that dvarm shabakarka, like a mountain, can't become, is not makabel tumah, or it can't even become an avodah zarah. It's interesting. Like let's say there's avodah zarah that worship Mount Everest. So how are you allowed to go to Mount Everest? The answer is it's something which is part of Hashem's nature. That's something Hashem did. That's something we do. So that can't become tamei, can't become avodah zarah. I grew up next to Niagara Falls, so everybody and their brother worshipped that thing. it was like super, that was like real. And you have a cheshik to worship it. Although there's a sign there that says that at this particular, they call it Suicide Point, that like at a certain point, this is to be careful that people tend to commit suicide here. Something that looks very, No, I never had that Yitzhar. No, but it's a very interesting thing because right before the water falls off the mountain, it's extremely calm. Like doesn't know what's going to hit it in a second. Yeah. It's like extremely calm, and then it's like. But anyways, I don't know why people commit suicide. B'diuk there, but people worship avodah zarah. People did all kinds of things there, but it never becomes an avodah zarah because it's God's creation, mamish. It's not something that we're doing. Like
also mechuber lekarka.
Well, it is.
Unlike the Ma'aros.
That's right. Okay. Unlike the Ma'aros. But even the Ma'aros, like the sun, is not tamei. In other words, these people are worshiping the Ma'aros. They're worshiping Niagara Falls. But the Ma'aros, we don't say you're not allowed to have hanaf from the sun because people worship the sun. There's no such. People do worship the sun.
How are the trees different then?
The trees are not different. Atzei Asherah is a different halacha.
Right.
It's Atzei Asherah because it's ties with some sachim. So if you look there, there's a special din by Atzei Asherah that it's a din of refuah. That people will say that they got their refuah because of the avodah zarah. That's what Taisa says. It's not so much that it's asur b'hala, but people will say that it's that they got their refuah from avodah zarah. So therefore, there's a lot of hatera, for instance, with Atzei Asherah. But it's not a Christmas tree. In other words, you're not talking about Atzei Asherah. So the thing is like this: when Hashem created, and Yoni made a good ha'ara about the stones. Which he surrounded around his head, but let's hold off on that. So what Hashem creates is Shechina Ilah. That's completely, even if it's in the ground, that's completely tahar. And then there's Shechina Tata. So the Ramak says that Aveira Mechaber Mitzvah, that when I'm creating the Shechina, Dahainu, the Shechina Tata, so it has to be 100% pure. So in that case, if I come to Shul with an Aveira outside of Yom Kippur, so I've messed up the Shechina that can be there. You see, even Klal Yisrael in the Midbar, when they did Averis, they lost the Stalik Anonei HaKavod. When we did Averis in Yerushalayim, Chorva Beis HaMikdash. So the Shechina Tata is very sensitive to what we do. And if we do it wrong, we lose the Beis HaMikdash, we lose the Anonei HaKavod, we even lose the Shul. I used to beg the people, and not here, Baruch Hashem, but in previous shuls, that I like, don't talk, don't, like that you're in a Beis HaKnesses, that's the, don't ruin the Shechina Tato. I didn't say in those words, but that's really what it comes to. Mashen Kain Omnam Ein Aveira Mechaber Torah. There's a din that Aveira, Torah is Torah, and you get the schus of Torah, even if you have an Aveira, even without Shuvah, because Ein Aveira Mechaber Torah, you can't mess the Shechina, you can't mess up the Shechina Ilah. It's like messing up a mountain. You can't mess up the Shechina Ilah. Shehi Shechina El Yoina, Hashara Al Yisrael Mitzad HaTorah, Va'oiskim Ba, the beginning Lo Zaz Shechina MeYisrael. So when Chazal say Lo Zaz Shechina MeYisrael, which is based on Psukim in Yecheskel, that he said this after the Chorban Bais Rishon, and people say, "Oh, where's the Shechina? What are we going to do with the Shechina?" So the answer is, "Lo Zaz Shechina MeYisrael." I Zaz Shechina MeYisrael. We're not in Eretz Yisrael. It was a Chorban. There's no Nevuah. Cheskel proved that you can have Nevuah to Chutz La'aretz too, but he took his Nevuah from a different place. And if you look at the Malbim in the introduction to Cheskel, he even shows in the words that he took his Nevuah from a different place. He took his Nevuah from Shechina. So it's harder, Ma'aseh Merkava. It's a Ma'aseh Merkava. Why is it? Why did he get so fancy there, Cheskel? Why couldn't he talk like Yeshayahu, which is livable? So the answer is because he was tapping into something different. It was tapping into Shechina Ilah. He wasn't tapping into Shechina Tata. And all of a sudden he's talking about things that are Bashamayim. He's talking about the Ma'aseh Merkava. He's talking about things where if you open the art scroll, Ma'aseh Merkava looks like a pack of cigarettes. Lahavdil, warning. Do not go there. Do not read this. You can read it, but with care of really trying to understand it. But he was tapping into a Shechina Ilah. So that's the whole difference. So I just want to, in understanding the Shechina, there's a well-known. Let's just look. I'm sorry. Let's try this. We're in Sukkah. We're in Sukkah Daf Hey. The Gemara says as follows: Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer, very significant. I mentioned this once in the Pirkei Avos here. Very significant that this was Rabbi Yossi. If we have time, I just or why he was concerned about this. But Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi said the Brisa, Be'oila la yarda shchina lamata be'asara. Let's go out. Like here we're talking Shechina Yonu, Shechina Tata. We think we're fancy. No, Rabbi Yossi says precisely where's the Shechina hovering over Klal Yisrael. Aye Mekayim Kevodecha. Aye Mekayim Kevodecha. So Rabbi Yossi says, "Me'olam la yarda Shechina lamata me'asar, v'lei ala Moshe ve'Eliyahu lamorim." You thought Moshe Rabbeinu went to Shemayim, went up to Har Sinai, went up to the Shemayim. Eliyahu Navi ala lamorim. So understand that la yarda Shechina lamata me'asar, v'lei ala Moshe ve'Eliyahu lamorim, and they never went up to the Shemayim. The Gemara says that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi went up to the Shemayim. The Gemara tells a story, but that needs a hesber. What does it mean? Was it real or some sort of a nevuah that he had about the Shemayim? So, I mean, in other words, probably this has nothing to do with physical space, in a way. But I mean, obviously Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go up to Lamar, but he was pretty high, right? Har Sinai is not so high, but people went higher. People break. If you look, there's almanacs where people went higher than Moshe Rabbeinu, but spiritually, he went very, very high. But it was all Lamata Me'asar Tzvachim. Lamata Me'asar Tzvachim. Dahainu, Lamata Me'asar Tzvachim is our world of binyan. And Lamala Me'asar Tzvachim represents higher than our world. We talked about the Big Del Bavel on Sunday. The idea was to go up higher. Nasa lanu shem, nasa lanu shem. Let's go higher than the. I don't know if it's no gay like the skyscrapers today. It's all totally the Kabbalist Rav, but the I don't know if they're doing anything spiritual there. The Migdal Bavel was a spiritual act of trying to take over Hashem. Like there was a tremendous emunah there. If there wasn't emunah, they wouldn't have tried to make a war on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the war? It was to believe them. So that they went Lamala, they tried to go Lamala.
Why didn't you start talking about Esrim Amar or something like that? Start talking was like up to your thighs.
Right. I said when they approached a higher place. See the way we've talked about this many times that in this world, the world that we see, the Olam of Asiya. So everything's all sorted out for us, This is hard, this is soft, this is black, this is white, this is night, this is day. Maver Yoima, maybe Laila Mavdil. Ben Yoima, Ben Laila. The whole Havdalah, all the Havdalahs are Havdalahs which take place in the world of Asiya. In Zayar, this world is called the Alma de Piruda. It's a world of Pirud, which is a good thing. It means everything's sorted out and everything is clear. There's a sakana, the Alma de Piruda, is a sakana because since everything's so sorted out, we get into the miflagization of the world where everybody's at war with each other, or even in a war with ourselves. Some like. But even within the frum people, there's war. But this is all a symptom of the Alma de Piruda. But the Alma de Piruda is a good thing because if the Alma de Piruda wasn't there, so then the water. If you stand on the beach and you watch the water come in. And you marvel at the miracle that why does it stop right there and high tide goes a little bit further. The ness here is that at one time that was the whole world, right? The water was b'chasa kol haaretz, but it stopped. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a gvul, so that's the and Baruch Hashem it stops. You can build a hotel over here unless the bria goes crazy. And there's some kind of a tsunami, but pashtus, if the oilam kimin hagai heiloch, so then it's meant to stop right around here and get onto the sand and stops and doesn't go into the yishuv. But people are samach on that teva. So this is the Alma de Piruta. By the Migdal Bavel, they tried to get out of the 10 Tvachim and they got into the Alma de Ervuvia. The Alma de Ervuvia, that's why they all started speaking different languages and different, everything got all mixed up. So it could be chayker between the Ramchal and the Arizal. Did they all get mixed up because of the Pirud? In other words, Hashem was buffered then. The Hainu, you think you're going to get into a place of Echad. Menasa Lanu Shem. On the contrary, you bumped your head on that glass ceiling, and now you're even more of a Pirud. Or is it that Gufa? It's all mixed up. There seems to be two Hesber in the Mefarshim how that works, but it was connected. The different worlds that what they were trying to do by building a building, so it might be like a somewhat of a unsophisticated, ziggurat. Is that what they're called? Going up to Shemayim, but I don't know if it was so unsophisticated. They were building a building. The Mekubalim say that the koach at that moment in Shinar and Bavel was to build a Beis HaMikdash. If they would have used the koach correctly, the koach to be bona and the koach to have levanim that we spoke about on Sunday, that was a koach of Beis HaMikdash. So we could have built the Beis HaMikdash with the echad that they have, safa achas, meaning they were really high, and they could have built the Beis HaMikdash. And like so many people, there's a special, there's like a little sakana being down on the low madrega, and then you're going up, 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 and then there's even a bigger sakana when you're at a higher madrega.
Pardes.
I know that the people that the people in history that went so off the derech and made such a roshem on Jewish history, like Elisha ben Avuya, Acher, or Shabsai Tzvi, and many others. They didn't go wrong here, they went wrong here. Because if you climb up, at some point you get to a very, very high madrega, l'mala me'asara tvachim, let's say, kilu, and there you have to make a choice. At that point, like at every level, your bechira chavshis is at a different place. Like most of us are not waking up in the morning and saying, should I have bacon and eggs or should I not have bacon and eggs? Like we're past that makom of bechira. It's not our makom of bechira. We might have a decide of should we talk lashon hara, or should we not talk lashon hara, or should we, but as you get higher, your makom of bechira changes. The highest level of bechira until you're tzaddik gamor is the Balatanya says the highest level of bechira before you get to is where you're still being boicher is okay. But there's very high madrega. You're b'yechsu plei Hashem. Your babish like very close. Now you have to make a choice. Am I going to take this for myself? We're going to worry myself, or am I going to become mispashet or just do this for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And this is a place where only tzadikim could fail. This is not a place where regular people like us can fail, like me. You have to be very high madrega to fall so low. Menashe, Chazal say, Menashe HaMelech, the Rasha, was at such a madrega. Elisha ben Avuya was at such a madrega. In Shabsai Tzvi, Rabbi Yaacov. Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
Rabbi Akiva.
It would be different. Rabbi Akiva didn't fall.
Didn't fall.
Right. So there's an example of Nichnas b'Shalom v'Yatza b'Shalom. Some people can't get up there. Ben Azai, Ben Zoyma can't get there to begin with. Rabbi Akiva could get there and come back because it's all Shalom Echad. And Elisha ben Avuya also got there apparently. He also got there, but he fell. So great men fall. The bigger you are, the harder you fall, because the Malkam Bechira is very, very delicate at this point. That's what people say, like, wow, like how could such a tzaddik do such an avera? Like, hey, not var, he understands us. Dafka on a very high madrega. You could do it. Yeah.
Just explain me, take it for himself.
What I mean by take it for yourself is that at that point, if there's any ego involved, so then you have tremendous koach, because you could have nevuah, you could be a miracle worker, you know things and you have insight that nobody else has, and you could have thousands of people gathering around you to ask you for brachos or whatever they do with great people, and like the Gemara says, one of the Tanoim, one of the Asar Rugei Malchus, the Gemara said the reason he had such a terrible misa was because one time he walked into the shir and there was a few thousand people there, and he felt mashu, ani mashu. So that the rega that these are madrigas that, because lefi madrig. So how all of a sudden you have to be killed by the robots because he said ani mashu, and he even thought of it. If he said it, he felt it. Thought it for a second. But the pshat is lefi madrigas. Dafka, because he was at such a high madriga, this was his bechira. You understand? In other words, that was his Nisayid. The Nisayid of here is, should I eat in Pizza Hut or McDonald's, right? The Nisayid over here is, should I talk about Torah? The Nisayid over here is, am I doing this Kulei LaHashem? Or do I have still a piece of myself tied into it? If you make the wrong choice at that level, Hazar Tzadikim. If you make a wrong choice at that level, which is so then you end up with the Shabsai Tzvi.
And this is the Olam, what do you call it, the Ebuvian? What do you call
Olam of Revuvia.
it? Mixed.
So, saying this morning we put on tefillin with the Bar Mitzvah, I was telling him afterwards that the Shabsai Tzvi was such a huge Talmud Chacham that the Yavitz that Rabbi Yaacov Haber wrote shuvas back and forth with him, but he addressed him l'chvoid ha'ilui midesav, the Odessa Ilui, that's what he called him, the Odessa or Ilui, the shuvas that were going back and forth, and there's I believe 6 shuvas back and forth letters with Rabbi Yaacov Haber to Moshe. Moshe Mendelssohn, who was the sort of the founder of the Reform movement. I mean, there was a Reform movement, but what ended up being the Reform movement. So there was a controversy starting whether he was saying weird things. There was a controversy saying, well, is he a gadol telling us what to do, or is he a bad person? This is a shiloh we all have sometimes. Like, what happens when a gadol tells you something which doesn't seem right, So who are we to say? We're not good oil. Like, who are we to say? Maybe he is right. Maybe he's not right. So only other good oil could say. Who else could say? Who else is going to pass it on the gadol to be a bigger gadol? L'chor. Today, good oil don't pass it on ketana. Ketana pass it on good oil. That's the way it goes now. But sarusa de l'sata. Crazy the way it is now. But at that time, it was a controversy. And then somebody saw, to make a long story of history short, famous thing was that somebody saw that he was putting out his tefillin. Tefillin, Kap Shabbos, Kap Kosher, everything. He's putting out his tefillin. He was sach ben shel yad l'shel rosh. He spoke to him. What did he say already? I don't know if he had a conversation, but he said so. So the Yavitz heard about it. Rabbi Yaacov Haber is the son of the Chacham Tzvi. He heard about it, and he says, Shabati, he writes in the Sefer, Shabati shata begadol kelev ra b'toich beisai. I understand that there's a kelev, that's what he called it, a kelev ra b'toich beisai. So because he was sach bein tefil shel yad shel rosh. So,
Even though the Sfardim do that.
Seder, what?
Even though the Sfardim do that, right?
Because they make 2 brachas.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a Sfardi Yaki. Right? So what's the gross avera? So I was just explaining to Rav Moshe here this morning that the whole concept is there has to be a connect between your leiv and your rosh, and there's no sicha between them. There's no interruption between what's going on in your heart and what's going on in your mind, and you've united the thing. That's the whole idea of tefillin. Here's a disconnect. Here was a disconnect, and the Gedolei Adar saw a disconnect. Like his head is in the right place, but where's his heart? Like what's in other words, his learning was good. When you talk to him, nobody could keep up with him in learning, and nobody, even his shviras mitzvahs, even his ma'isa was good. But at this, kelev ra b'toich beisai, that was, he was talking about his leiv, and there's some kind of a disconnect, and they picked it up with sach ben tefillin shel yad tefillin shel rosh. Like a fascinating.
Is that the pshat with the Orchei Milchama? That's the example.
With what?
With the people that go back from
Nachon,
war.
nachon.
That's why they give that example. Amen.
Listen, this is the Orchei Milchama went back because they were sach. It doesn't mean that they're talking to them. They just pick a random aver. There's a disconnect. That disconnect is the difference between an integrated Jew and somebody who's doing something mitzvahs anashim ulamad, or for whatever reason. Let's say it this way: it's the difference between lishma and shaloi lishma. Okay, back home, Tanya Rabbi Yossi Aimer me'olam liyarda Shechina lamata me'asara. Shechina doesn't come less than asara down. What's our proof text here? Hashomayim Shamayim Lashem. V'aretz nasan livnei adam. There's a divide here. The great divide, which metaphorically, is Eser Tvachim. Pretty long, Moshe says. Okay, good. Means the Shechina comes down pretty close. But it doesn't touch ground. It doesn't touch ground. What do you mean? Why is it so? Malchus. By Malchus, no, because it's still, as Moshe pointed out, you still have a share of 20 amas, which is Olam Hazeh. See, I want to tell you something, that Masechta Sukkah, right? I always had a very difficult time with Masechta Sukkah. First of all, it's a hard Masechta. Second of all, I'm not so mathematically oriented, and it's a bit boring. And I kind of forced myself to learn Hilchos Sukkah because everyone's asking me Shiloh. I don't want to be embarrassed, but it's not natural to me. Some people love these things, Sukkah, Erev, and they just love it. Like that's so I can't. I didn't have that kind of a relationship with Masechta Sukkah. I learned to know it, but I hope that's what's Hashem. But I don't. It's not by love. Wasn't my love. And then I started to learn in the Arizal. This is so chashuv in the Shara Kavonis. We're talking about the Moyadim, like this is all about the Shechina, right? This is what happens what happens when you build this hut. Tzila de Mamnusa, that means the Shechina, and it's all about 10 Tzvachim. It shouldn't be lamala of 20 amos, and every halacha, mamish, every halacha, good asik, good achis, lavud. Every halacha of Sukkah, every halacha of Eruv. This is our Rishus. Get it? What does Eruv do? This is our Rishus. We built we were Ma'arev, Daika. We were Ma'arev here. It's all so ruchnius. It's so unbelievably ruchnius that I looked at the Arizal that a tefach is a handbreadth. It's not like that because so by the goyim they count by their foot. By us we count by our hand. It's not it's not the pshat like 1 foot 2 feet. I don't know what a meter is. I don't know what a meter, but I know what a foot is. A foot is a foot. So it's not like a substitute for balatot. Like our tefach. Tefach is a handbreadth which represents Ma'aseh Yadeinu. That's what a tefach is. And an amma is a different aspect of Ma'aseh Yadeinu because you're putting muscle into it. So it's what's behind it. There results masber every shear of Hilchos Sukkah and every shear of Hilchos Erevin and the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. Because it's lo pashut, like exactly those. What do we sell? Get an architect, build the Beis Hamikdash. What's the, what's the gross diktuk? A little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. What was the shayla? How many men's rooms are there going to be in the Beis Hamikdash? What was the shaylos over here? It had to do completely
The Teva?
with the Shechina. Well, in other words, how to work the Shechina. Do you notice that huge Gvir came to the Arizal? What's his name? Huge Gvir came to the Arizal, and he had just gone in. The Arizal lived in Sfas. He had just gone to Meron to the kever of Shimon Bar Yochai.
The Gvir?
What?
The Gvir.
The Gvir had just gone to the kever of Shimon Bar Yochai. So he came back to the Arizal and he said that it's a mess over there. That's like just like Shimon Bar Yochai, just like a kever, you can hardly see the stone. Wasn't so he said he'd like to spend money to build it up into a real place, like a real makom, which you see now, but or at least the bones of what you see now. So the Arizal told him this is a good idea, and he drew, which is available. He drew the plans for what he should build. He drew the plans like an architect. He drew the whole plans. This is a wall should go here. This should go there. The plans were a miniature Beis Hamikdash, the diuk. The chutzner, you go in. There's a chutzner to measure exactly the shiurim of the Beis Hamikdash. The kever of Shimon Bar Yochai is in the makom of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the whole thing's a microcosm of the Beis HaMikdash, which the Arizal said is a microcosm of the Beis HaMikdash Shalmala. It's a Mikdash Shalmala. It's the Shiurim. It was just like, you could see some like really funky architect, like say, that's cool, let's make this feel like the Beis HaMikdash. This is not what was going on over here, like some person in Manhattan or something, do his reach Google the temple and use the measurements. That's not what's going on over here. What's going on over here is that the Arizal saw this as one of the places which is the Mekoimus for the possibility of the Shechina, which is a pretty big endorsement of Rishon Bar Yochai. That's why a couple of years ago, when the world, the Lishkata, whatever is of safety, said that it's not safe. I mean, even if the Arizal's construction was good, it was still old. It's old, So they started to restructure to do this. So those that knew said, but don't change. There's a big controversy about it, Hafkadas and everything. But those that knew said, don't change the dimensions of what's going on, because the dimensions are all PR Arizal. So it's a fantastic thing. So Shamayim Hashem Haaretz Nosal Livnei Adam. Frank the Gemara V'lo Yard the Shechina Lamata. Is it true that the Shechina doesn't come Lamata Me'asar Tzvachim V'choksi Vayered Hashem Al Har Sinai? Doesn't it say Vayered Hashem Al Har Sinai? It says the Gemara Lamala Me'asar Tzvachim. V'choksi V'amdu Ragla B'yayim Ahu Al Har HaZeisim. Lamala Me'asar Tzvachim. Amdu Ragla is Lamala Me'asar Tzvachim. Gemara v'layasa Moshe v'layala Moshe v'Eliyahu l'marim. Eliyahu, at least we know that l'marim. V'aksiv v'Moshe alo elo elikim l'mata me'asar. V'aksiv v'yal Eliyahu basar hashamayim l'mata me'asar. So it's fascinating. V'aksiv goes on and on. Rashi says l'mala me'asar tzvachim. I just want to read it before I ask you because we're out of time. Here in the Iyun Yaakov, Farshim on the Gemara, he explains the issue here, and let's leave it with this. Dahainu miyom sha'alsa me'olam la yarda shchina lamata miyud. The Shechina does not come down lower than Yud. Dahainu miyom sha'alsa, from the time it went up. Me'az, that the Shechina went up, has come down again. Ki mitchila, lechatchila, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, haisa Shechina b'tachtoinim. Shechina was right here. Gan Eden. Ruach Elikim is halech b'toich hagan. Ruach Elikim. Ki disa barabba, Medrash Rabbah Bereshis, al pasuk mishalech began l'ruach hayoim. Mishalech began, hoylech. Shechina was like walking mamash amongst us. Kiven shechata Adam Arishain did the chet. Nistalka hashchina l'mala. Shechina went up. V'lakach medaktek hakra, and it was from then, and this is what the David HaMelech was talking about when he said, well, Adam Arishain, now we create a situation that Shemayim Lashem, or it's Nasan Livnei Adam. That's when that happened. Shemayim Lashem, or it's Nasan Livnei Adam was by the Chet. So what more medukta? So if you think of Shechina as like a sort of a davar b'shemabakach, a luxury item in the world that we live, think Adam Arishain, that the whole kavanah of the world was that the Shechina should be mizhalech b'toich hagan, and that's the way it would have been, kilu. And the whole chet of Adam Arishain, which was the most monumental chet in history, what the damage done was Allah Shechina lamala me'asara. L'kach medaktek hakra haaretz nasan livnei Adam. Ma'ashen came b'mei Adam Arishain haisa haaretz gam kein la'Hashem. That wasn't true for Adam Arishain. He couldn't say this pasuk. V'ha deshuv la yarda l'rishus tilamata pachas miyud. So why don't we come back down again? We're doing some nice things. Yesh loymar. This is cute. Mishum demaylim b'kodesh vein marid. Let me just leave it with this. This needs obviously an iyun because it's a fundamental Gemara about Shechina. But it's very interesting, the halacha of Sukkah, I'll just leave you with this ha'ara. The halacha of Sukkah, you would think, should be that we should be open to the sky. We're here, we're open to Hashem. Like you're going outside of your house, so go outside of your house. Like you go outside your house, and then you shelter yourself. And not only you shelter yourself, but it has to be tzilasa meruba mechamasa. It has to be more shelter than it is chama, which is counterintuitive. Okay, you want to put some shelter, but chamasa, tzilasa meruba mechamasa. And what's the Shechina called? Tzila. You're in the shadow of the Shechina. So that shadow, it's not the light that's coming in. It's the darkness which is created by the shadow of the schach, which is what we're building when we're building a sukkah. Isn't that interesting? And hence, all the halachas have to do with tefach. And the size of the sukkah has to do with the sukkah is part of this world. It gets into the machlekes of what was the sukkah. Sukkah Shaftis B'nai Yisrael, Anonei HaKavod. But it's all about Shechina. That it's all about being lamata me'asar tzvachim, and not being lamala me'asrim. Same thing as Hanukkah candles. It's not about only where you can see it and where you can't. It's about trying to be precise with being mistabek on Hanukkah with the Shechina. I'm saying just throwing this out here because everything needs a lifetime of Hesber. But what's fascinating about the Sukkah, Lanias Daiti, is that it can't become God's house. It has to become your house with the Shechina Tata. What you're doing with the Sukkah is you're creating a Mishkan of Shechina Tata, not a Mishkan of Shechina Elah. But you have to know that the Shechina Elah is there. You have to be able to see the stars, and the rain has to come in. You can't have a tikra there. It's not going to work with the tikra. Like then you're inside. You have to go outside, but what you're doing is not going outside. So go outside, sleep under the open sky. Nice. Go camping with your kids. Eagle Scouts. Like what's the nakuda here? I'm going outside on my diras keva, and I'm creating a diras arai. It's similar to creating a Beis HaMikdash. Because even by the Beis HaMikdash, he tells us here, even by Moshe Rabbeinu lo yarda. Still didn't get. We're still not holding by Adam Harishon, even with the Shechina, with the Beis HaMikdash, and with Moshe Rabbeinu, with Matan Torah, we're banging our head on the glass of the Shechina Elah. And the only connection we have, by the way, is with Divrei Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu had a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Divrei Torah. Some spoke to him. That was Torah, right? Kabbalist Torah. Shavuot. We're going here through all the Shalosh Regalim, minor and major, Hanukkah, everything, except Purim. Purim was Hester. Interesting. So what we're talking about over here is Rosh Prakim is all about creating a Shechina Taftoina, which has She'ein Boichet, which has Kedusha and Tara and has a window, Sayar Tasa L'Teva, right? Has a window going up to the Shemayim. That's what we're talking about. And hence all the halachas of Sukkah have to do with our maisim and what's correct and what makes sense. And how big the window could be, and it's not considered a hefsek, and how big the Pesach could be, that's not considered it still could be considered a wall. So it's I'm not suggesting that anybody learns all of Hilchos Sukkah necessarily on Paskins Al Pi Arizal, but like it's a whole different gishmak in what the Amoratzim think is like, we're just being pedantic about, big deal out of nothing. Just light your Hanukkah candles and that's it. Like we're making a big deal about it. But every prat with prat is you could shake up the whole Shemayim Ba'aretz if you do this a little bit wrong. Like it's something makabel tumah on the roof. My God. Kabel tumah on my roof. It's so you put a paper clip up there to hold everything down. Like, I changed the whole matzav over here of Shechina Elah, Shechina Tata. That's the work of the Kavadas of Chanukah. But that's the kesher that the Tomer Devorah is using here. By the way, I was curious that he uses here the Tomer Devorah 3 times the lashon of kosher hashchina, tying down the Shechina manyan. So I wondered, like, where do you get this from? The Zohar or something else? So I googled it. Like, where does it say kosher Shechina? Like, you can go into very early Svarim. Shechina, the only one source, and that's Tomer Devorah. This is the source of kosher Shechina that I could find out of it, where he came up with this concept.
So what does it mean, Kanfei Hashchina?
Kanfei Hashchina, very good. I addressed that.
See, by
We
some,
talked last time about the Raglei Hashchina.
Right.
Shechina part 4.